ジャックスに対してはよくグラガスが出てましたけれども、今回はバンされてます、ジャックス。そしてジャーバン、ファーストピックに対してオリアナ出る。ピックのスピードが速いですね。ジャーバン20勝19敗。勝率そんな良くないんだな。J4 好きですね。
Like this from LNG, take away this J4 from Owner. Owner has been the biggest point of contention for T1, one of the members that wasn't really able to perform, but this far on thus far on Worlds has been able to have a really big impact. And LNG also get Galas, Kaisa, and Scouts Azir.
アジールも勝率はまあまあ 50% ないくらいですか。そしてトップエイトロックス先出し性能が非常に高いチャンピオンです。目立ったカウンターがそんなにいないぞ。シオラとかジャックスとか。でもシオラはちょっと本体からまだ出てきてないんですか。
And change that script. And I'm also curious to see what T1 do with this blind pick Aatrox. What are they going to take away now to try to make sure that this is a setup matchup for success for Zeus? Because when I look at the first 3 picks on the side of LNG, I feel like they got everything they could possibly want here between the Azir as well as the Kaisa. What do they actually want to take away now on the side of T1 to make sure they're getting something out of this Aatrox pick?
I mean, I think you could just ban Renekton if you're going to ban another top laner, but they might just go more towards supports. You know, the Jax is already banned out. I do think you can ban out Renekton. It's obviously a great option. Cassante, you think you're generally happy about playing into that matchup?
ADC 何いるだろう。カリスタとか。
But it is going to be a focus on supports here, and maybe going to be a pick for support on 4 even for T1 to really kind of thin the pool.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if LNG opted into the Senna ban here. We've seen the Senna be really successful into Kaisa specifically. And there is also still the flex potential. Like I'm
エズリアルはちょっと出てきてたけど、全然勝てなくて誰もつかなくなりましたね。
I mean, clearly they're just trying to limit the engage options to pair with the Kaisa, right? You know, that is the emphasis here. The Rel has already been taken away. Again, assuming it is going to go jungle, it is a flex, but you banned away the Alistar, you've banned away that Nautilus. There are other options still available, but they're Khan getting banned out. So clearly, LNG was worried about what I was thinking might happen, which is that support pick on 4. So they self-ban out that Rakan. But it does mean now they go over towards the Senna. It's likely going to be Senna TK, but there are other options, and T1 is one of the only teams in the world that has shown us that at a high level.
Specifically, Maria has been, I think, the most impressive when he can find these counter picks on support, and with Senna, it really opens up. Oh, the crank is here!
This is like almost a pre-counter to that Tahm Kench. You're kind of expecting the Tahm Kench to come in. People do like this matchup. You can go aggressive with that Blitz crank, but this is a feast or famine style pick here for Hong, and he's going to have to perform well because if you fall behind on Blitz, you become useless fast.
そしてエイトロックスに対してグエン出てきました。0勝3敗ですね、グエン。カサンって相手によく出てたけど、残念ながら試合には勝っておらずと。
I mean, this is I'm expecting it to still be the TK, but you know, is he going to go with another option? Because I do think there's a lot of other good pairings. I've seen things like Cho'Gath, and Neela is something that I've heard about. Yeah! And Neela's locked in. It is the Neela Senna lane. This is something that a lot of people have been kind of whispering about talking about it in solo queue, popping up in scrims as well. The ability to all in here is really, really high. You can play it aggressive, and I think it's going to be a true support Senna. It's not going to be the fasting Senna here. It is just going to be a full-on Senna support. This is really exciting to see this brought out in such an important match.
Absolutely. A crazy curveball to throw in game 1. If you manage to come out on top in this game,
いや、ニーラ難しいぞ、運用が。このチャンピオン、ADC に見えてただのメレーチャンピオンですから。
As highlighted, Neela very feast or famine, synergizes with Senna fantastically.
本当にダメージ、集団戦で出すの難しいですけど。
AD carry very vulnerable as we get later into the game.
Yeah, and the Neela specifically is something that T1 themselves suffered defeat from. It was one of the matches midway through summer when they lost against Noxious. And it actually was a really big point because that was the point where T1 really started to crack, and we saw them falter more and more.
見せてほしい。ドリッツカイサに対して当てたニーラ。
Someone in LCK.
I mean, it's so interesting because Senna traditionally you want to pair with melee champions that are farming and you queue through them for the heal plus the poke at the same time. Neela basically works in the same way. Neela is essentially just a melee AD carry, right? Like you are playing that short range style. You're going to be between the enemy and your Senna, so the Senna can get that double value, can look for the pokes.
悪くないですか、カイサ対ニーラ。
Trying to go aggressive, trying to find those plays. And I'm so interested to see what kind of a build we're going to get from Guma because there's so many options. Some people
まあブリッツに引っ張られた時のカウンターは強そうですね。
They just act as like a pseudo engage, the primary engage. You know,
引っ張ってくれたらむしろ
that really remains to be seen.
Something we're going to find out as we get onto the rift for game 1 here.
強みは
For all of the LCK, the last hope
そのもらえる経験値が増えるパッシブ持ってるのでレベル先行して
Get in there.
レベル先行して特にレベル6先行が強いチャンピオンではありますニーラ。パソコンに Windows 10の提供時点が終わってる連絡。あいよ買い替えますかおとなしく。強強 PC に。
Blitz lane ever, right? You offer nothing other than that. So, especially against a range support like the Senna, Carrier doesn't have to farm. You're just going to be purely focused on harassing this blitz, poking down this blitz.
これオリアナ彗星なんだな。みんなエアリーだけど今回彗星です。珍しいぞ彗星は。エアリーはオートアタックで出てくれるけど彗星は出てくれないからな。その分ダメージは強いですけれども。
Seeing what angle they can find to maybe generate an early advantage here, get something done. Finally, matchup I think is we're just going to keep coming back to it because it's so interesting because it's such a unique duo of champions, but it's going to be frustrating for side of LNG, or it could be effortless. If they find a single all-in, if you shut this bot lane down early, it can fall apart, but if you play a slow lane against a champion who heals, Senna, a champion who boosts healing, Neela,
Tarzanは
done. And yeah, now you can see how Gallon hung already on the back.
赤に侵入して盗んでいきました。壁を越えられるチャンピオンは敵のワードをかいくぐってこういうことができるのが強いですよ。フェイクは1対1でフラッシュを取っていく。腕が痛いとは何だったのか。
That he has like his jungler relatively close to him, knew that he was able to play towards that side, just chases him down, forces the flash.
At the same time, T1 are aware that Tarzan is somewhere
いやこれレルジャングルかぶるものないぞ。
hasn't been taken, so I think Faker not moving too far forward there and committing his flash. Definitely
ジャーバン映りましたね。
is more risk averse and ends up working out well.
今映りましたか。
We are seeing Tarzan take that rep
今映って食べられてるの分かったからレルが敵の赤バフ食べに行きます。
the bottom side of this lane. He's going to play towards the side that his jungler is. He's always going to be hugging more towards that side. He has the ward up on top side right there at the top of your screen. So he's going to be able to have time to react if this does come.
フェイカーウェーブの調整も素晴らしいですよ。これアジールのプッシュウェーブです。フェイカー失うミニオンが本当に少なくて済みますよ。そしてアジールノーフラッシュ。
Some people playing Halo Blades. This is the Conqueror style, so it is likely to be Nashers. It's likely to be Leandry's well Scout, and we'll see if that is going to be the option.
出てますね。これジャーバンが上側にいるから安全にプレイしないといけないということで CS 差が出てますか。
Stepping backwards should be okay here unless owner's willing to burn a summoner spell, but Tarzan there to cover. Means the play will fizzle out, but top side, bot side completely isolated. They're getting to do what he wants on top side of the map, and it is paying off thus far. 31-18 the CS. We'll even up a bit as this wave comes in, but you can see already that the Gwen has a pretty sizable advantage.
レルの9の一撃で小さい鶏肉食べることができる。ダメージ強いですねレル。 ボットレーンはニラがプッシュを先行してますな。
It's almost that matchup is being able to kind of just stay right on the edge of that Q range. So when Zeus goes for the Q that's about to hit you, you can pop your immune, stay outside where he's still on the outside of that ring, and you're going to be able to immune that. It makes it very, very difficult for Aatrox to kind of play that style that you want to in these matchups where you're constantly just poking away with those Qs. because Gwen has the ability, both with that immunity and also with the skip and slash, to dodge to the side, to trade back really effectively, and to take all in. So it is a very tough matchup that scales incredibly well, and I'm so interested to see how Zika is going to perform, because this guy has just improved by leaps and bounds over this last year. In summer especially, I thought he was incredible in the LPL, and there is that style that I'm talking about, right on the edge. The Q gets immune, and he's going to be able to get a good trade back as a result.
素晴らしいダメージ。
Excellent Q2 though to ensure
ちょっと
pullback does come
これ
in.
ジャングル取られると困ります。トップレーナー視点。
Natural sustain to come through from the Gore Drinker, but
CS 食べられません。
running the top side of the map. Owner there just to cover, just to pick up the Krugs.
Yeah, Big Finger Zeus hasn't actually backed yet. His wave state is kind of awkward though. I wouldn't be surprised if Owner goes for a lane gank here, but did
こ
get
れはレ
spotted.
ルを呼んで
So,
プッシュ
Zika shouldn't be in
安
any
全に
trouble,
で
but
き
the
るよう
very
に手伝
least
って
should
もらえ
allow
ますか。
Zeus to push out and get a back in, and then use the teleport to get back to lane. And again, I'm pretty sure Owner did get spotted, so shouldn't really be any risk for the Gwen here.
Does always get a little bit dicey though, you know, when Gwen hits 6 there, because he can try to hold this wave potentially. Owner has base, obviously Zika doesn't know this, so he's still going to play down
いや
towards
こういうウ
river,
ェブ
where
に
we
なっ
know
た
that
時に
Tarzan
ジャン
is
グラーが
available
トップレーンのプッシュを手伝ってあげるのもすごい大
Seeing that
切
the
で
wave
す
got
ね。
pulled with a
そうしないと
cannon,
本当に
Zeus
ゲー
couldn't
ムお
actually
しまい
base,
な
and
ので
Owner is not there, and the jungler's
で
coming
今
up
からエ
in
イトロッ
second
ク
six,
ス
so
死
they're
ぬ
going
か
to
も
look
し
for
れ
an
ません。
Has the ulti, but extra movement speed.
これどうしようもないぞ。
Flash out to
ト
save
ップレーナー
me.
視点。
Simply just going to ult for the extra movement speed.
こんなのされたら。いやーどうしようもない。何回ジャーバントップガーでプレイするんだ。ゲームにならないぞこんなの。
So he didn't want to fully kind of just show on the wave to be able to help him crash. As a result, he hides his positioning, but it means that Zeus had to stay around because with that cannon it was going to be a freeze. Owner will
だ
start
から
up the
努
trade on
力
the
でどう
bot
こ
side here
う
though,
で
so
きる
we'll
もの
see
じゃないから
if
な。
LNG has anything to say about it.
Really well done there by LNG. It's using the fact that Zeus really wants to get that wave in. The adaptation from Tarzan to
自分のプッシュのタイミングで
up towards that top side
毎
gank.
回
T1 will be able to pick up the
ジャーバンに2回来られて最初 CS 負けてたのもジャーバンがずっと上側にいたからだし
he will be able to pick up most of the CS and the wave. It does mean Zika already has about like
集団戦でリターンできますか。かなり取り返すのに時間がかかりそうですよ。トップの CS さチルも1キル差ついちゃった。いやエイトロックスが苦しんだ代償として代わりとしてドラゴン取れました。クラウドドラゴン1体目です。
Zika's going to go see if he can find some honey fruit likely in the river, and if he can get it, which he does, I can see his health going up, so he's going to pick that up, but still next to base.
And the investment top side just certainly paying off thus far for LNG and their counter pick with the Gwen. The bottom side,
フェイ
however,
カーかなり CS 有利取ってます。
small lead over Gao. The biggest difference you're going to notice is
今の
experience.
最強のオリアナ対ナーフされたアジール。
Lay down a little bit more global pressure with the ultimate.
それにしても CS さすごいぞ。
And it's a good bit of push here for Carrier and Guma, and I want to see, you know, if T1 are going to be opting into, you know, that soul optimization, you know, trying to follow around your jungler, trying to pick up all these additional souls, because really kind of ramping that up is such a big deal, especially if you are playing purely support Senna, you know, where you're not going to be farming, you're not going to be kind of getting that additional gold through that mid game, because you do have a true AD carry on compared to some bench where you can start picking up more and more of that farm.
1
So
対
I
1
want to see how he optimizes. He's at 27
頑張る
souls
ために
already, but that is going to be a huge portion of your damage in this kind of a game.
Certainly is. Every 20 souls, 15 AD,
なん
20
と
range, 10% crit chance.
先に触ってはいるけど
Those breakpoints as Carrier. T1, 3 members in the area, ready to set up. Scout on the flank, however, going to look for the shove.
まずいです。食らったのはエイトロックスだけだけどジャーバー死亡
Quick to force the fight. Zika not powerful enough to force that one through. T1 taking one and might just turn right back to the Herald.
And T1 there, a lot of
グエンが
confidence. Crucially there, I think they're
さっき
relying
ウルト
on the
使ってたから
ultimate from Carrier. In these
ウル
early
ト使ってたのもあるし
skirmishes,
アジールちょっとビジド弱いか
the heal
まだっく
as
り
the fact
だが
that you can take,
オリアナとのビジド差すごいですよ
on the target, able to succeed. That is available for T1 with Shockwave, the entirety of Rel's kit, and Aatrox. And
アジールのウルトも
LNG
エイトロックスにしか当たらず
on the early skirmish.
こっ
Yeah,
ち
I mean,
は
absolutely.
かなり
He's
有利
got
取ってます
Scout right now.
素晴らしいですよ
He's got a crystal, he's got some
俺
mana
のも
and a
タンプレッ
dagger.
ト
That's
1枚
it,
ゲッ
right?
ト
Like, he doesn't really have much power behind this, so he does find a decent ultimate, but the follow-up's not going to be there. Tarzan not really able to get much damage done. Zika, I think, was just on tabbies at the time of that fight, so definitely not in a great position to force it, and they do get punished pretty heavily here.
Big here as well is that Zeus has a Hex Drinker, so that actually is really good in this early 3v3.
ステップで避けるんですね、アジールのウルト。一流のプロプレイヤーは完璧に射程を把握している。
This Aatrox is ready to go after you, and LNG should be happy that they're able to get the rest of the people out.
Yeah, I mean, the Sentinel helped, sure, but it's not like they were even close to killing anybody. I think that was an ill-advised fight for LNG to take. And honestly, I'm a little bit surprised because they are one of those teams that, to me, is extremely measured. They're usually really good at evaluating how strong they are in a game. And if they don't feel that they're in a perfect position, you often just see them play side lanes, they trade for plates, they trade for jungle camps, they trade for objectives. And they're one of those LPL teams that is least likely to fight you if they don't feel that they're in an advantageous position. So it is a little bit surprising to see them opting into it, and T1 does punish. And you can see as a result, the gold lead opening up. Faker up over 20 CS, gets a kill there, and has taken 2 plates. So the Orianna is more than 1,000 gold ahead, and the Herald's now going to get dropped.
いつもと同じサイトですよ。あれ違うかな、音声出してないからちょっとわからない。英語なのか日本語なのか。ロブ e スポーツで調べると毎回日本語のサイトが出てくるんですけど、英語配信でしたか？あれちょっとあれ
And usually LNG is the team that is so good about not taking fights that they
お
shouldn't
話をしてる
take.
間にミッドでジャーマン使われてヘラルドも出してプレート取りました。そしてトップ
Well, why did Scout go in? Why did either of them go in? Scout goes in, ultim away, then has to flash out.
ゼウスさん、こんな強いトップレーナーいたらチーム楽すぎる。
You got no damage. There's no way you're 100 to 0ing this Orianna, so it wasn't even close. And that is back-to-back fights where LNG really unorganized and really overestimating their point in the games. Let's watch this one more time.
あんなに苦しんでたのに、これソロキルできるんだったら。
But Zeus just sidestepping on the R's. And then is able to turn it around here in the final moments. So both these Qs, actually both players playing it really well, but just no heal cut through that ultimate meant
ちゃんと一番強い3段目を当てていく。アジルのフラッシュ。ジャーマン入っていくけど、スタンからのオリアナのウルト。ですですです。
As Tarzan feels like the communication there between Scout and Tarzan just not on the level it needs to be.
No, absolutely not.
リソース注いだグエンが1対1で敗北してしまったので、LNG かなり苦しんでますよ。ミッドもオリアナがずっと有利取ってます。ゼウスやばすぎ。これがずっとバンされるか。バン・オアティックの最強チャンピオンオリアナ。
They have done very little. They are a part of the gold lead courtesy of Senna and all that additional soul gold, but they've just kept Gala and Hong under their turret the entire game thus far.
But the big thing is, with a lot of the action happening towards the top side of the map, it has allowed Guma and Karya to just play fully for bullying in the lane. Because there is no support from Tarzan, and Scout and Zika obviously haven't had an opportunity yet either to get towards the bot side of the map. This counter pick of the Neela actually ends up working out really well. I think it's like, what is it, 8 or 300-400 gold lead here just from the plates on Guma over Gala.
And Karya, the gold is relevant. Honestly, he's got 600-700 gold ahead because he's actually farming gold as well, you know, really effectively off those plates. The crown now done for Faker, so he's going to be staying safe. And Hong on this blitzcrank from behind. That is going to be tough. You know, your solo lanes have both fallen behind. Your bot lane is perma pushed in. You haven't been able to even. I haven't even seen him attempt to hook 13 minutes into the game so far.
And I mean, blitzcrank from behind.
かなり時間使ってますけど。
You never are going to know if you're in that safe pocket of vision where you can lurk and set up that perfect hook. The potential is always there, but the windows of opportunity get smaller and smaller when you're at this kind of deficit, when you're playing against so much vision denial, especially against a champion like Senna. And normally Guma, we often see Collector come out as a first item, aggressive, yes, much more solo queue focused, but it seems like he might be going serrated Dirk into Navori, just looking to capitalize on that additional damage, the cooldown reduction that comes through, the endless W procs that show up.
I mean, you can just see the turret plates 9-1 for T1. That shows you how that early game is going. They have the kills to back it up as well. Zeus now with that dust plate complete.
これはタワープレートで何ゴールド獲得したかか。T1 は1575ゴールドで LNG は175ゴールドしか獲得してないと。
You already commented on the Aatrox as well as the Neela, but it looks like Faker's actually going for Crown into Banshees.
Yeah.
So like the man is really going for defensive playstyles in the featured matchup presented by Mercedes-Benz. Thus far, Faker, I normally am not a fan of going for these type of full supportive builds, but if you're 1500 gold up, might get away with it.
And honestly, I think his read is probably that he's the only one that is vulnerable in
この試合が終わったら日本語配信の方に切り替えようと思います。
You know, that can't afford to actually all in on Carrier, then hey, maybe it's going to work out.
Forward. Flash out safe from Carry is clean. TP now coming in just to cover the play just in case.
壁の向こうにいるセナを狙ったんですけど、キリアフラッシュで
Leveraging that TP just to ensure that they come out on
ちゃん
top
と
of
逃
the
げてい
skirmish
き
will
ま
not
す
work
な。
out.
Also, honestly, it's double AP
ニーラはブリンクがあるからよけられてしまうということで、それがないセナの方を狙ったんですけど、それも予測済みと。
Even just having that MR is pretty high value, so
T は圧倒してます。LNG を。
but maybe in this case it works out because you've got a lot of damage on this T1 team.
Zeus just walking out fearlessly, and this sucks for LNG. This was the guy you set up to pull ahead. The map was split to isolate top lane, but that 1v1
何もさせておりません。
And Zeus, you know, for all his struggles that he has found in finals, and specifically against Doran, was, I think, the member that even during the tough times for T1 this summer, looked the most composed.
Yeah.
It's really easy to forget that this is a player that has only been the starter for 2 years, right? Like he's obviously been a mainstay for T1, but hasn't been around for that long.
The whole T1 team, you know, well, besides Faker, you know, is
い
incredibly
や、これもレーンが強いからできますね。ドットミッド、勝っててトップも。あれだけジャーバン。グエンを助けたのに、ソロキルしたからな、ゼウスが。
And really big now is that LNG is able to create some vision denial against
使い
T1, right?
なくて
You
も
want to
ある
have
程度
at
予
least
測
an
できるという
opportunity
こ
to
とで
maybe
すか
try and hook
敵のこ
someone
っちを
in, get a lead, because with the goal deficit the way it is,
上級者の
I
方
feel
々
like
は
LNG is going to be forced to contest for this Drake. Like Soul Point Infernal Soul is not going to
我々は
be
神の
very
視
fun
点か
and
ら全部
interactive to
見え
play
ますけれ
into.
ども
You can see as well that they're already making their way over.
プレイしている
We'll have
選
to
手
see
は
if
そうで
LNG
は
can
ないです
find
か
a
ら
way,
ね
because if they can win a fight here, it might be an avenue back into the game.
It's also Gale Force for Guma, so he's not going Navori. I've seen a lot more Navori in solo queue as well. But going for that Gale Force does give you the additional playmaking. Pro's obviously a really big fan of this item. Allows you to close the gap. You can see that he is also playing Ghost. So between the flash, the dashes with the E, you can try to get in on that back line, tap people in with the ulti. You have Carry with the ulti over the top to support. And T1 is just going to try to pile in massive amounts of AoE damage. Started off by Guma. You have Owner going in. You have the Shockwave going in. You have AoE damage coming out from Zeus. And if they can pull off that engage, it's going to be incredibly difficult for LNG, I think, to turn it around.
And I think one thing that LNG needs to consider is we see this all in on the top side.
トップはずっと 1v1 してます。グエンウルトなくなったけど
won't result in much more. Both sides simply backing away, a trade of ultimates. But you can see here, a lot of T1's composition leveraging the power of healing.
トップに TP、走るトップに TP です。ドラゴンを捨ててトップのタワーを取ろうということですか。
on getting this objective bounty. Zeus, flag and drag. We'll just get the flash in the end. Tower
いや、ここでもゼウス死なない。
Double objective bounty in about 30 seconds there for LNG. They got the tier 1 bot. They're taking the tier 1 top. Yes, they're going to be losing that dragon, but they've made the call here. And this is more the LNG that I know that is not going to fight these fights where they think they're disadvantaged, right? And that's why it was so surprising to see them take some earlier on. But they're just going to play the map. They're going to try to get as much gold in the pockets of their carries as possible and attempt to be ready for this soul fight, which is very likely to be game deciding here in 5 minutes.
At the same time, I wouldn't be surprised knowing T1 if they
LNG
don't
は
even
トッ
opt
プの
into
タ
a
ワ
soul
ーと
fight
取り
in
ました。
5 minutes, but just head
でも
straight
これ T は
towards
圧
the
倒的
Baron.
に有利ですよ。
Something that this team has been known for
ドラゴ
for
ン
a
取っ
really
て
long
ボットタワー
time.
も取り返
I
しま
think
し
in
た、オ
some
リア
way
ナ
they
が。
pulled it down a little bit.
ドラゴンソウル
Didn't
リーチ
really
です。
work out quite as well as it has in the past. We'll see if LNG find a way, because I do agree. I think that fighting there is always going to lose you the game.
Yeah.
LNG identified the best opportunity to still get something out of the play.
And it's going to be Crown into Nashers here for Scout. So again, respecting the upfront damage, respecting that potential engage. And Zayas just all aboard the lethality train here. He's going more and more towards it. I think we're going to see Collector second for Guma, and just looking towards this kind of heavy burst style build.
確かに今当たってもちょっと勝てませんから。試合を引き延ばしてもうちょっとゴールド差の影響が少ないタイミングで。
Every bit of crit she buys gives her a percentage armor pen as well as healing when she does damage to champions. So oftentimes you'll wonder, why is Neela hitting so hard? It's because to make a melee carry work, they had to give her ridiculous frickin' state. And you will feel it at 2 items, most certainly. You will feel it even more at 3 items. If this champion is not blown up in a fight, she will take over an extended Aegis.
There is also the fact that we've seen the most, I think one of the most successful combos in this tournament has been Rakan, Orel combined with Jarvan, right? Like that combo, Orel and Rakan together. And without the Neela, T1 wouldn't really have anything to, outside of a shockwave, to really follow up in the same way, and particularly with Guild Force, I think it'll be really easy for Guma to follow up is a good, if a good engage is found.
Absolutely, and I even think there's opportunities to start it off yourself if you do find that angle, right? That's what makes this champion so unique, is that you can be the primary engage, and it's not really in a way that any other AD carry can. Sure, there's champions like Ashe, but it's obviously very different shooting an arrow out versus shooting yourself out.
She's also one of the only AD carries in the game who go, oh, Gwen wants to jump on top of me, that's fine. This is a champion who can block so many of those empowered autos. Yes, she can't block the snip, but can take a lot of these diving champions on head-to-head if they don't have backup from a player like Gala or Scout. Hook going just a little bit wide there, but you can see LNG fighting tooth and nail to get a little bit of vision down here, just to make sure that T1 cannot attempt to sneak Baron. T1 no mid-prio yet, but with Guma coming out of the base, with Collector, they will start to fight back for some of this vision control.
This is also where you see the Umbral Glaive get a ton of value, right? And the fact that Keria is able to consistently take away some of the vision of LNG. Although I gotta say, with this ward surviving, I think they still have a pretty good idea of T1 not actually starting the Baron yet, combined with the fact that they have, I think, a ward right in front of the pit.
Yep, they do.
Which is good scouting on LNG's part, knowing T1 and their knack for
エ
starting
ヴァーフロストを買うのは結構よく見ますね。
Scout here on the side.
エヴァーフロストを買って
Just gonna lay
CC
down
を
a
強
little
くして
bit
い
of
く。
poke here, get the Conqueror stacked up against Owner. Blitz.
あとは結構マナが辛いチャンピオンではあるので、ロストチャプターがあるとそこも解消されるということですか。ブリッツ本当にマナ辛いですから。
It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough, especially from the position that T1 are in. And there's so many threats on this team that it's going to be really difficult to get into the backline towards him. But at the same time, you have to respect the fact that Scout is on his ultimate comfort pick. Gala on his ultimate comfort pick is on 2 items. Scout likely to have his Nashers done relatively soon. And LNG, I think, are going to hope to get their 2 items done before this next Dragon. And I think that is where they're going to try to just draw the line in the sand and try to turn this game around. If you can win a big fight there, if you can take that Dragon away from T1, maybe knock some of these towers off the map, all of a sudden,
いや、セイター CS 先着47。
And do note as well, talking about 2 item power spikes, Zayas
でもね、赤バフにジャーバンがパンチされたのかな。
counter item, right, making it hard for him to get hooked in. Owner with the Knight's Vow, which I think he put on Guma just now.
Yeah, there's really not good poke either on LNG's side to actually knock off Banshees or Edge Knight.
ドラゴンそろそろ湧きますよ。
And in about 30 seconds,
ドラゴンソウル。
this is going to be a must-win fight for LNG. Inferno
これ渡したくはないけど、
potential problems with
ファイトできるのか。
If you add all the extra damage on top of that, it's not going to be nearly as much of a problem. Or T1 might pivot towards the Nash.
わあ、おりゃな。ドイド完成してます。装備やばすぎる。
Just about for the side of LNG, maybe a chance to fight their way back into this game. Some unforced errors earlier on, costing them dearly as we've gone later into this game. But they can reset the script right here if they can find the right angle on this fight.
You can see both teams trying to fight for this mid lane wave. All the vision for T1 is focused towards that Baron side, and T1 do have mid prio. The Dragon's spawning just now, so will LNG just try to rush it? And the answer is going to be yes. Zika's already on it. T1 are coming, so the fight is going to be on.
Have to be careful about locking themselves in the pit. Keep your eyes on Guma if he gets to the back line. Owner now stepping forward.
ベルがミラが敵鬼に入っていったとそりゃねベイトしていくあやーいやーこれ LNG ミッドレーン捨ててドラゴン急いで取って逃げようっていうことだったんですけど、ドラゴンを捉えた挙句1号交換、そしてバロンも取られてしまう。あいやー、デスしたのセナだけなのか今のファイトね。ニーラうますぎだったのこれ。これニーラがアジェイと大差に入った後、アジェイのウルトストップウォッチで避けてノーダメージと、そしてエイトロックスが3人ゾーニングしていく。インファーナルパンチです。
And gentlemen, I'm not trying to flame anybody, but I don't think Kong is going to play Blitz again.
It's the self-ban angle.
It might be the self-ban angle.
Yeah, Blitz, as you pointed out at the beginning of the match, Azil, is very much, it's hit or miss.
Yeah.
And
that was the first hook chroniclers. Yeah, that was the first hook. The first hit was a miss.
この試合はちょっと難しいぞ、LNG。もう次の試合を考えた方がいいかもしれない。この試合を頑張って勝とうとするのにエネルギーを使ってもちょっと難しいけど、次の試合を頑張るんだったらまた0キル0ですからスタートできる。次頑張ろう。
You lost topside around these engages at Herald, around this engage in mid lane. Your bot lane in the 2v2 doesn't really stand much of a chance. You're perma pushed in.
いや、ブリッツで機能しませんよ。この試合フックが当たったのを見てないぞ。エイトロックスが1対3してる。ジャーマンのフラッシュもかわしていく。これは GG ですね。思い出ファイトです。ドンドン。
Shreds T1 too far ahead. They make it look effortless. It's a clean ace for T1. Baker
機能しましたね。ブリッツに何もさせませんでしたよ。T1 ラストピックのニーラがずっとドットの主導権取ってましたわ。いや、強いです T1。何もさせず勝利1試合目。
And coming into this game, for me, as I mentioned at the beginning, the most important player on the T1 side was Owner. How was he going to